Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 6 of Anthropology 330, Evolution of People, Technology, and Society for winter 2020. So this week, we are moving into my favorite week of the term, methods in archaeology and paleontology. So as an archaeologist, this is when we're starting to get into what I do on a daily basis. So let's start at the overview in the module. And this week we're going to talk about the manner in which physical and cultural remains are investigated. So what are the methods that archaeologists and paleontologists use to study past humans, both the physical remains, the bones, and the bodies of past humans and hominins, and also the cultural remains, our tools, our houses, our objects that we create. And then we'll explain the reasons why we do this. Why do archaeologists and paleoanthropologists investigate physical and cultural remains? Why does this matter? What's the point? And then we're going to talk about fossils and artifacts and describe how they're both formed. And then we're going to talk about dating, how we can figure out how old different things are. There's a bunch of different methods. We're going to review them all. So for the readings, there's a chapter of Larson and a bunch of chapters of Wilson. And the lectures, there's a almost 8-minute lecture on methods, and then a bunch of short videos on different types of dating. So radiocarbon dating, that's one of the primary ones that we use in archaeology. That's generally used for things that are up to 50,000 years old and things that have organic carbon in them. Stratigraphy is a kind of layering of a site, and there are some basic rules of that, which is that unless something has been disturbed somehow, the things that are beneath are older than things that are on top of them. And then there's a couple other kinds of dating. So thermoluminescence dating is one that we use that is based on grains of sand and when they were last exposed to light. So these are all different methods. You can watch these videos and do the inquisitive activity for chapter 8 if you're doing those, and then the discussion. So, actually, first we'll talk about the term paper outline. Sorry. So this is due this week. By the end of the week, this is the next step of your term paper. So as I've said, the last 2 weeks, you should have been going on to continuing your research. You should have been reading articles and writing little summaries of them. So that will be turned in this week. But I'm also going to want you to turn in a title that can be the same title as in your last step. It might have developed a little bit as you've moved on with your project. And then a brief introduction to your topic. And so this, I expect to see some development from your proposal. With your proposal, your introduction was, hey, here's this idea out there that I want to go look at. Now you should have done a little bit of looking at it. So now you can come in and say, here's what I know, here's what I've learned, and so you want to have a little bit more detail and a little more kind of a sharper focus in this introduction. And then I want an outline. So what is an outline? It can be actually, like an A, B, C outline where you say, here, A, here's the first paragraph, B, then I'll do this paragraph. And in each paragraph, I want you to say what evidence you'll be using. Or you can do it just as a narrative. You can do it as a diagram if you'd like, any way that makes sense. But what I want you to show in this outline is your roadmap. You have this idea, and you have this basic research that you've done on it, and now show me your roadmap. How are you going to get from these ideas and data to a finished paper? And then to show the data and the research that you've done, I want an annotated bibliography of at least 5 peer-reviewed sources. So remember, we talked about peer review going back all the way to week 1. So make sure that when you're doing this, that you're not using newspaper articles or things like that. You're using peer-reviewed sources. So you'll use that library website, and you'll click that button that says peer-reviewed. And then the annotations, those are those short 3-sentence summaries that you've been working on since week 1's discussion board. So for the annotated bibliography, I want there to be a properly formatted citation, and then a short paragraph with the annotation. and you'll need at least 5 of those. You can feel free to have as many as you'd like if you've done extra reading. Don't feel like you have to only pick 5. If you've read 20 articles, you could put 20 on there. I don't expect anyone to have done that at this point. But you need at least 5 to get full grades. And if you look here, here is the rubric that I will be using to grade this. So you can see how much points each element is worth, and you can see what I'll actually be looking for when grading. Okay, so if you have any questions about that, or if you'd like to meet for office hours to go over your drafts, or if you have any questions, please let me know. I will be available multiple times throughout next week for meetings. But please email me and we'll set up a time. And then the discussion board. This is a fun discussion board this week. I always enjoy it. I think the students usually enjoy it. So we're going to talk about methods for dating and for thinking about what happens to a set of material culture after it's been abandoned. So what is material culture? It's the objects and things, the things that humans use and make, okay? So what I want you to do is to think about your environment, where you are, where it could be either your hometown or where you live now or a place that you know of fairly well. So I want you to talk a little bit about the environment. Is it wet? Is it dry? Are there earthquakes? Are there floods? I want you to think of anything out in the environment that could impact the material culture after you leave it there. So if it's dry, wood might last much longer, whereas if it's really wet all the time, wood might rot. Or if it's all wet, under in an anoxic environment where there's water but no oxygen, wood can preserve for tens of thousands of years. So just think about how different things will preserve in your environment. And then choose an object that is in your room and post a photograph of it or a written description of it. A photograph is the best. And describe what it is, what material it's made out of. Is it made of glass? Is it made of metal? Is it made from wood, etc.? And then for the response page, I want you to look at your classmates' post and think of the environment and that object and kind of figure what will this item look like in 5,000 years? What will this item look like in 20,000 years? And then looking at the methods of dating, think of which methods would be appropriate to date this item. So, for example, if you're using dendrochronology, you have to have wood that has tree rings. So that's the discussion board this week. It's designed to be fun and not a lot of work, because also this week we have a midterm. So the midterm is available from Saturday of week 5 to Saturday of week 6. You can take it. You can take up to 2 hours to take it, and it's worth 50 points. You're only allowed one attempt to take it, and once you start it, you have to complete it. The exam is designed to be not necessarily easy, but it's designed to be a fairly low impact. So I know a lot of people have a lot of stress over exams because you feel like the exam is your whole grade. Exams are just a part of the grading in this course, and there's also a lot of extra credit and things like that. So I don't want you to approach the exam with a lot of trepidation. And it's not designed to be a gotcha exam. So if you've been doing the readings and keeping up with the discussion boards, you should do pretty well on the exam. And if you happen to not do the best on the exam, there's ways to make up the points. So it's the way I see the exam, the primary purpose of it is for me to see how well students are learning the concepts. So that's the exam. And that's it for this week. Please reach out if you have any questions or comments, or if you'd like to go over your outline before you turn it in or anything like that. And have a great week.